Hello, everyone. Welcome into the studio today. We do junk journaling, we do bookmaking and book altering, and we do other paper crafting, and we do dimensional art and things like that. So, paper is the basis of everything that we do here. This is also something I feel like I want to do personally because the timing of it is such that I was just at my mom's for the weekend cleaning things out. Um, those of you who have been around for a while, you know that I honor my mother in so many ways here at the Maker Beehive as being my primary example of creativity, and that includes in the garden, in the craft room, and in the kitchen. And going through her things over the weekend after we have helped her move to memory care, actually several months ago now, finally got up the nerve and the time to get into her house and start kind of clearing things out. And I have said before, she was also a collector. I very much get my collecting gene from my mother. And I emailed you today, if you're on my email list, and talked about how, some people might refer to her as a hoarder, may refer to me as a hoarder, but we simply like the things that we like. And they are a part of us. It brings us joy. Um, I don't want to get into the hoarder versus collector argument, but I will say, going through my mom's things, she was definitely a collector. She had a lot of collections, but they were very well organized. And she has notes on everything, describing what they were, who made them, what year, you know. Um, they are things that were trends, like the Dickens Village or the Boyd's Bears and things like that. But then there are also like authentic antiques. And then there are the things that were important in her life. Letters from my dad when he was in South America during the first couple of years of their marriage. Um, Photographs, just like photographs upon photographs, and not just the photographs, but she has researched and asked questions to people and taken notes on all of those things, and they're all collected. That's a collection, that's ephemera, right? And she has kept pieces of mail. She used to have her own shop in Lexington, Kentucky, and she has so many receipts and she has kept the notes from her customers. And I see myself so much in her because of what's going on here at the Maker Beehive, where I'm getting notes from you and I keep those, and just how I treasure photographs and letters. And we have pen pals in the Maker Bees, and I base that on, she encouraged me to have a pen pal when I was younger and to be a writer. And anyway, so my point is, a lot of us talk about how we love to thrift and we love to source things and to use in our art, and we surround ourselves with things that we really enjoy looking at or that have a history. And I think we apologize for that, and I find myself apologizing for it somewhat. And making an excuse for it, or following up with, I'm not a hoarder. And we will also say, you know what, my kids aren't going to care about this when I'm gone, probably. And my mom had said that, and I always argued with her, and I said, no, I do care about these things. And as I'm going through things with just me looking at her things without her there, it was just a really special time, and it made me appreciate who we are as collectors, because we should not apologize for it. We should also not feel like it's going to be a burden to our families. Live in the now, live in the moment. And what has happened for me, like going through my mom's things, of course it was sad, but there was such a comfort about knowing that she found so much joy in her collections, and how she enjoyed researching it and looking for the perfect thing, and just really utilized her collection. She was very much a maker, very much a maker. And yeah. So there were a lot of things that I went through, but this book in particular, I thought I've got to share this with my Maker Beehive people because it made me laugh. I gave her this My Favorite Recipes book um, years and years and years ago. I didn't look for a date um, of what year this was published, but what cracks me up is that there's this book of favorite recipes of my mom's, and it was in a drawer with all of her other cookbooks and stuff in the kitchen. And I looked at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, all of her favorite recipes. And I opened the book and there's nothing here. And there's nothing here. And there's nothing here. And she has not put anything in here. There we go. Sweet potato muffins. She did that one in here. These, there we go. We got the banana bread. These are all bread recipes. But most of her recipes were like this. The cover's even it's fallen off now at this point. But this is what were her favorite recipes. These individually written or cut out little recipes. And the book wasn't even used. Isn't that so funny? The book wasn't even used. And I had to laugh. I just had to laugh. Like, yes, it's her favorite recipes, but she's just tucked them inside this book. And so inspiration hit me. And we're going to make our own little My Favorite Recipes book. That's going to be a tuckable book. It's not going to be a leaf through it book, because in honor of my mom, let's make a Brenda Phillips style recipe saver. Okay. And it's going to be a really, really simple little one little fold in little book cover. And we're going to be able to tuck our favorite recipes in there. And when we open it up, they're going to be all right there. Okay. So bear with me. This is just something I'm coming up with on the fly. But I'm going to take you along for the ride. But look at all of these fantastic recipes. And you know what else occurred to me is how many of these came from friends. Like she's got Relma, gave her this one. This one came from Rita. This one is from my brother. We've got some in here from her friend Sandra. We've got some from her sister Debbie. We've got like all these different. And so it also occurred to me like how food and friendship go together, and creating and friendship go together. So anyway, all right. So that's the inspiration for what we're doing. See how we just take that and slam it together? All right. We can call it our recipe slam book if we want to. So if you're on my email list, and if you're not, you need to go to the link that I provided farther down on this page. And I can put it in the comments later, or you can just go to my Facebook page, www.themakerbeehive.com. Get on my email list. You're going to get sent an email right back that will get you on my email list, and therefore you will be getting the printables from here on out. All right, so what I told you in the email was to have a couple pieces of corrugated cardboard, and I just cut this from an Amazon box. So these are 5" by 7". They're a little bit smaller than our book here. I just felt like this size was not necessary, but you can make any size you want. Like the dimensions don't matter. So I'm also going to be using fabric. And there's a couple of ways that we can use fabric on this, but you don't have to use fabric. You can absolutely just use paper, scrap paper. You can collage onto your book covers, whatever you want to do. So I cut these out. First things first, I cut out my covers. Each of them are 5" by 7". And I'm going to connect those with masking tape. I'm leaving just a slight space in between there. You see that? And I'm going to try to catch this and keep them as even as possible. Just like that. I'll do one more piece on this side. I'm just going to give it a little fold. It's our little recipe fold book. Look at that. I have a confession to make. When I have little scraps of fabric, I like to pre-make book covers. So I'm not going to make one here live, but I'm going to show you some of the book covers that I have made in advance in the past. And these come in really handy when I decide to do something like some type of a little book, or, you know, make something for a friend real quick. And these are simply taking one base piece of fabric, and if you have a sewing machine, just laying on different swatches of fabric and just sewing around all of those edges and making just a collage of fabric. And that's what I have here, is one of my little collaged pieces of fabric. Same thing. I took the base fabric and then took pieces and laid them on, pin them in place, or you can use a little bit of a fabric glue and just kind of tack them in place, and then take your sewing machine and just sew. You can even just scribble with your thread all around with your sewing machine. Or if you just don't have a sewing machine, you can simply glue your fabric on. This is what I envision for my little recipe book, and we'll get that glued on here in a minute. But I'm also going to show you if you wanted to use a plain piece of fabric. So there is the little booklet with that fabric cover. But if you wanted to use a plain piece of fabric, this is one that I cut out ahead of time. And it's just one piece, but it is from a cross-stitched table runner. So I cut out the table runner in a size that would be bigger than my book covers right now. And instead of having it the exact size as my book cover and cutting around the edge like I would with this one, in this case, I could actually fold this in this way and have a finished edge here. And I'm going to do that for you now. I love the look of these fabrics all collaged together with my sewing machine. And the key is, the trick is to have that one solid piece as your base, like your substrate, your watercolor paper. So it's the same thing. You're collaging fabric on fabric, just like we would collage paper on paper. You've got your substrate, and then you lay your collage pieces of fabric, and then instead of gluing, we're sewing all the way around, however you want your stitches to be. Okay, so if we're going to do this type of a cover, I'm going to evenly place my cover here, but I'm going to put a little tacky glue. This is Aleene's tacky glue. Just around my edges and in my corners. It's getting stuck. I'm going to apply it with a little pencil. There is no reason why you can't use a fabric glue here, but I would do the same thing. Keep it around the edges and in the corners. And then I'm going to flip it, make it nice and even. Make sure this is nice and even on this side. There we go. And then I'm going to cut these corners like this. And truthfully, this doesn't have to be a recipe book. This can be any type of a little booklet. If you need to keep a receipt, keep lists. But my mom inspired me to do this. Okay, and now we take each edge right through here. And I'm just going to fold down that side. There's so much reminiscing in the comments. I love it. Susan Reynolds says, my cardboard is from a printer box. It has print on one side, which it doesn't matter as long as your fabric isn't terribly transparent. See if you can see through your fabric or not. It shouldn't matter. If you can't see through your fabric, it doesn't matter, because we're going to cover the inside too. So because I cut that corner, I can kind of miter this corner a little bit, holding those ends in, pulling that down. And we're going to go around all 4 edges. Hello, Jackie from St. Louis. I don't typically use a pencil for my tacky glue, but it's getting down to the very bottom and a little bit thick and not wanting to come out. And we're going to pull this corner up. I'm going to kind of tuck that corner in and pull this up. I'm going to cover the inside too. And I will finish off on this edge. And again, tuck this corner in as much as you can and pull it up nice and taut. Same thing down here, tuck that corner. Really fold that up nice and clean. And then anywhere we feel like we need a little more glue, you can tack these pieces down that are wanting to stick up. And we have our book. You can go this way. We can go either way we want it to go. Kind of like it like that. And we can still decorate the front of that. Jennifer says, could you paint or gesso over the printed box to not show the print? Of course, that's a great idea. Debbie Iverson says, one of my greatest treasures is my mom's handwritten recipe book. Yes, no amount of money can replace it. So true. You get it. You get it. So let's get to the paper. I have this pad of scrapbook paper that I thought I could find something. So I'm going to lay my cover on here. I'm going to trace around it. But when I cut it, I'm going to cut it smaller so that it's going to lay on the inside there. I'm going to use my paper trimmer. Oh, I wanted to cut that a little bit smaller. Let's go a little smaller. So what you're doing for me is you're allowing me to have this time to just reflect on my mom and give these recipes a new place to live. That's a book that's not falling apart yet. And I thank you for that. And perhaps you will be inspired as well. So that's going to be the inside cover. I'm going to go ahead and fold this, give it a nice crease in the middle. And I will begin with a little bead of glue down the middle there, and then glue around the edges. So this is how it will open. So let me get my bead of glue down the middle. This fabric here needs to also we have to make sure that gets glued down, or it will push my paper back out if it's not glued down. And then I'm going to actually make sure I've got it in the right place. I'm just going to put it right on my paper here. I want this to be really thoroughly applied along this edge, so all my edges go down. And I'm just going to do a little bit in the middle. Good security. You like my glue applicator? Smush that into the spine where I creased my paper and the crease in the book. I'm going to give that a nice push. And then from there out, secure my paper. Make sure it's pressed all the way around this edge. Cute, cute, cute. We're not finished yet, so don't think this is it. But there's our little booklet. We're also going to put pockets, and we're going to embellish the cover a little bit. Mary Jo Boyd says, my husband's mom passed away 6 months before I met him. I've gotten to know her through her recipe box. Isn't that, Mary Jo, what a great thing. That's so true. And it always warms my heart when I make a recipe from my husband's childhood. It helps keep her memory alive for him. Mary Jo, what a beautiful sentiment. Thank you so much for sharing that. This looks so much like my mom too. This book, this reminds me of my mom. She loved pink. She loved purple and flowers, and she was a sewer and cross stitch. So it all just kind of works. It just all goes together. So just thinking, the coordination I like. I love how it's coordinated there, right? I think I will make this a pocket on the front. I'm making this border a little bit wider on the sides than I need it to be, than you think it needs to be, because I'm going to create this little pocket for the cover. And first of all, I'm going to fold over this top part. And then I'm going to fold over the sides like this. Pretty even. And then I'm going to fold the bottom just a little bit. Okay. Bring my book back over. And the reason I did the little folds is so that pocket will pop out. It'll give it a little bit of space. I'm also very eclectic, as is my mother. She's still living, so I catch myself talking in the past tense. But those of you who've had a parent who has gone through the stages of dementia, at some point you just feel like you lose them. And I've kind of gone through that stage, so I catch myself sometimes saying was. Hopefully you understand that. So let's go to some of her recipes. So I can tuck some recipes in here. And then on the inside, I'm trying to think, do we want it just to be like you can just tuck your recipes in here and not have pockets? You just tuck them in and close it like my mom did? Or do we want little pockets? Sandra Greer, there are no pages. We're not doing pages. This is just a little tuck like my mom had. This is just because I was so amused by how she stored her recipes in that big old book that gave her plenty of pages, but instead she just used it as a tuck, just to tuck them in. And I would do something like have a little tie. So that would be my little recipe tuck spot. And all my recipes tucked in there. I mean, isn't that how we all kind of work anyway? We just kind of tuck stuff, you know. I don't need to organize it. I just want to know where it is. I just want to tuck it. And to be honest, I'm not loving that white. So I'm just using my ink really quick to distress that. Little distress ink never hurt anybody. And we can do some on the inside. Oh, a little wedding shower gift. That's a great idea, because the idea of doing like a whole big fancy journal or like book with all these pages and pockets and everything, maybe that's just too much. But what if you just did a little small little shower gift and just made it this little tuck book and tucked in her grandmother's or her mother's favorite recipes into the book. Cut ourselves a little pocket. And let's make it good size. And I think we'll do the same thing where we fold over that top. Just kind of reinforces that top, because the constant putting things in and pulling things out can start to tear or get worn, but this gives it a little extra. I'm going to fold it in the middle again. And this will go right here. Let's do the same thing that we did with the inside cover. We just want to make sure we don't get glue too far up into where our pocket needs to be open. There's our little pocket. So cute. Isn't it just nice to make things small every now and then, and just, you know, just thinking about my mom, who is one of the most practical and logical people you will ever meet, who is one of the most practical and logical people you'll ever meet. She knew it was just easier to just tuck them in that book instead of trying to organize them by category. Like the book, the book has categories. It's got your appetizers, your salads, your meats, your poultry, your seafood, your vegetables. And my mom, very much like me very much like my mom, is probably like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go in here and go, oh, what do I have for seafood? No, I'm going to go, where was that salmon patty recipe? Go through the pile. It's just easier that way. Very smart, very practical. I just want to make sure, I'm taking a piece of cardboard. I'm just making sure my pocket is open where it needs to be open. Debbie, to be honest, you probably don't need that glue down the middle. So let's let that dry for a minute. It's just fun. Just a fun little folio. And all it was is cardboard, scrap paper, some random fabric. So cute. Fold it up, tie it up with a ribbon, tuck whatever you want to tuck in there. You're good to go. Look at that. All those recipes, you can put them in pockets, and you can still just slam them in there if you want to. So I'm going to set that aside. I have this. And I don't know about you, but when I receive packages from Amazon and these pieces, I just want to crinkle it. I just love the sound of this and the feel of this. This is like the perfect crinkly paper. We're going to do another one with this. And I have this big piece of fabric. I'm going to fit it so that I can cut it here. We're not going to fold it over the edge. We're just going to let that brown paper, it'll just show right here. I'm thinking as we go. I don't have a plan, remember? So what I think I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and glue this on right where we are. Because I like this part. I want to keep it. These colors I like. I can sacrifice this. So I'm going to glue this onto my mailer. Now this was open on this side, so the whole thing then is open here. So what I think I'm going to do is glue this shut on the side. And then once I apply this piece and I cut the top off, the top is going to be open and that's going to form pockets. Does that make sense? So I'm going to just put some glue on here. I'm taking my glue all the way up to the edge of the envelope. So I want my fabric to really stick on that edge. And I will apply more on that upper edge when I figure out the cut. And I'm just going to do a few drops of glue here in the middle part. I don't want to put, listen, if you put too much glue, you'll lose the crinkliness of this particular brown paper. So I'm going to butt it right up to the edge. You may actually prefer this over the little cardboard folio. Who knows? I'm cutting my fabric. So now it is perfectly Listen, it's still crinkly. It's still nice and crinkly. It's even better. So now I'm going to take, let me think. Yeah, I'm just going to cut straight across. I'm going to trust myself to cut a pretty straight line. And I'm going to go. It might not be perfect, but I don't really care. Look at that. So now we have this. We're going to have a place to tuck things down in here. I'm going to put another piece of fabric on the inside here. But crinkly, crinkly, crinkly. Crinkly, crinkly, crinkly. I mean, this is just so fun to hold. My secret fabric tote. You're getting to see the secret storage. Ooh. What about this piece? Yeah. I like it. I like it. Let's put our glue on. But I can't stress enough, if you put too much glue and, you know, collage a bunch of little pieces, you will lose that crinkliness. I don't know why. I don't know why. So try not to put a bunch of glue in this center part. If the crinkliness isn't as important to you as it is to me, maybe it's not. I'm getting it really good up against this top edge, so my fabric is really, really secure up there, not fraying. So push this to the edge. Push it to the edge and let's get it on there. Pinking shears would be nice here too, maybe. I think I'm going to take this to my mom actually and show her all our recipes. You know what I should do is make one of these recipes for her. Yeah. And now, since I've done this, someday my girls will find it tucked away somewhere with who knows what in it. But we got, so if it's, you know, what would be nice, what would be good is to take it, sew it down the middle, sew it all the way around the edges. I could use the extra little piece for a pocket. Leave it together. But is this not a great way to use trash? I really need to straighten up this top part. So look, if we wanted to, oh, here we go, that little piece of lace that we had. There we go. And I probably press this with my iron just to get a nice crease on my book there. And I am going to take my awl. This is a really sharp tool. I'm going all the way through. See where it's coming out on the other side? And I'm going to take this little strip of fabric, cut through that hole, get it through. Come on. There we go. I'm going to tie a knot in this end. What I did was I just cut a strip of fabric in yellow from my scraps. And I pull that up, and there's my front tie. Cut that off. I'm going to tie another knot in this end. I'm having a blast. I know this is super simple and not paper collage based, but I hope that you're still having fun. Do another little strip, really skinny, because I need it to fit into my needle eye. And go from the inside out again. That one pulled through much easier. Tie a knot in one end. Cut this end, tie a knot in this end. So now when we close up our book, we tie it closed. Sandra Greer's says I don't have the paper mailer. You don't necessarily have to have the paper mailer, Sandra. You can absolutely still do it with your box pieces. Same steps. You just don't get the crinkliness. But I love when these Amazon packages come. Now let's just listen to the crinkliness. And we've got the opening here and the opening here. And guess what? Hold on. Got myself a little knot. Open it up. There's our recipes. And guess what? Ha ha. So I'm going to glue that on. And oh my goodness. So we've got Mom's Angel Biscuits, which I sent you the recipe for those. We've got apple dumplings. We need to glue that bottom part there so they're not coming through. Honestly, we can just pop these in here, or pop them in there. Pop them in this side. Oh, Mom would love this. I can't wait to show her. Make sure that glue stays. Look at that. New and improved. My favorite recipes book with all of my mom's favorite recipes, and the book's not falling apart, and we're not worried about a book with pages that weren't even being used. So funny. She didn't even use the pages. So I made it the way I think she would have preferred it. And had I known that she was doing that before, I would have made it a long time ago. But there we are. Look at that. And we don't worry about it being perfect because I hope this gets covered in flour and sugar and oil and all the stuff, all the sticky stuff from creating my mom's favorite recipes. Yay! I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for letting me veer off from our typical collage to do something a little bit different with paper and fabric and stuff that we were probably going to throw away. That's what it's all about. All right. Hope you had a great time, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.